Welcome to Wani. With us today we have Soilworks frontman Speed Strid. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing really good. Now, the Ride Majestic. The name itself uh, gives us a lot of ideas as to
Mm.
what can we expect from Soilwork. But then again, it's not so easy for us because you guys always, throw around surprises and excite us always. But how's the band feeling with just few weeks left for the release?
We're really excited. It's been a very interesting year and pretty rough one at that.
Right.
While we were recording and also during the songwriting, we had several deaths
Yeah, I'm aware of
within
that.
families, and so that was really rough. And all we could do was really to channel all the emotions into the music. So it does have a slight melancholic touch to it. It's pretty dark,
Hmm.
and but I feel there's lots of energy in it, and I think you can feel it. It makes it all more real going through something like this,
Right.
while recording an album. So I think it's all in there. I think we're picking up where we left with the Living Infinite,
Infinite. Hmm.
and I think this one is just a little bit darker, and I feel the extreme parts a little bit more extreme on this new one, and maybe the softer parts are even a little bit softer, but it creates a really interesting dynamic, I think.
Awesome. Because
Yeah.
while listening to the album, I kind of sense, some sort of inner darkness. I mean, something which is very personal. And in fact, while having a chat with Dirk a few months ago, he did tell me about what happened during the songwriting process. So it was pretty clear to me that whatever is going to come out on this album, it's just purely coming out of your heart. It's got to be insane, that personal touch. But
Yeah.
as a fan, I could easily sense that it reflects positivity as well, which is something we don't come across when it comes to the dark side of the album, where people, tend to explore and express the darkness inside. But then again, there's light at the end of the tunnel, which I felt while listening, to the Ride Majestic. So was that something you guys were, planning to do, or it just came out naturally?
I feel it came out pretty natural, and in times like that, when you go through something
Hmm.
um, as personal as that, personal tragedy or whatever, I think music it can be very encouraging. So I think there's also, as you mentioned, a healthy dose of hope in there.
Right.
For sure. So we're not really talking about goth metal here. It's it kind of sounds funny when
I
you
hear you.
describe it as like melancholic and dark and everything, but it really is. We're definitely letting in the darkness. We're accepting it,
Hmm.
and somehow are getting encouraged by it. And see a somewhat of a bright future.
Right, that sounds really good. Now, 10th album, Speed. Not many bands get to reach this. You guys know it very well. So, 10th studio album with such a great career, happening with the band. How's the band? I mean, did you guys even, ever thought about, hey, we're gonna be doing our 10th studio album the moment you thought about making a new album?
Yeah, no way. I mean, it's crazy. Like, if somebody told me that back then you will end up making 10 albums, I would not have believed them. It's really crazy. It's really hard to grasp.
Right.
That we've done 10 albums, and previous one was a double album.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just really proud of myself and the band for pulling through and that the fact that we're still creating something really interesting. We're still challenging ourselves and our listeners, and you can tell that there's so much energy in there still, which is hard to find when you've been around for that long.
Yeah.
I think we managed to always find new ways to express ourselves.
Absolutely. Now, a single came out, and a lot of fans went berserk on YouTube and everywhere. I mean, I saw a lot of comments in there. But for you, as musicians, did you, think about, okay, let's just go online and see how the fans have responded?
Yeah, of course you do that. You're of course when you drop the first song, for the new album, because you've been a part of the recording process for such a long time. So
Right.
it's hard to be objective. You
True.
like it yourself, but obviously curious to hear what other people have to say as well.
Right.
It's really interesting. But then again, I don't really troll the internet that much. Once the album is out and everything, I try to focus on the actual touring instead.
Yeah.
But it is good to see. Initially before the album is released, when you start, putting out like one track here and one track there to see the reactions. So yeah. I mean, I do care about what fans say, but I also make the music for myself.
That's true.
That's the first priority for sure.
Absolutely. Now, this album can probably, safely be called as, let's say, a soundtrack of life. Maybe, soundtrack of life after death, some other life, maybe.
Yeah.
So was that something you guys were planning on, mostly for vocals point of view? I mean, your lyrical approach, although I didn't get the lyric sheet, I'm just wondering, what sort of mindset you were in, obviously with what's happening from the personal side of your life. What was the mindset when you were writing these lyrics?
Well, I think, with The Living Infinite, it was really existential in general. This one is also existential, but kind of, in a darker way. And I think it really is a collection of hymns to life and death. And, it's about the outer and inner darkness that we experience. And, the realization of the end and for example, with my grandma passing away during the recording, it's like, when you come to say goodbye for the last time, when you touch somebody's skin for the last time, the smell, the images, the light,
right,
and it's and also the fact that it's almost like a claustrophobic feeling of being limited to one life, one body, one mind, and one skin.
Yes,
it's all you have, but it's still so powerful and sometimes comforting in a weird sense, and it's like the beauty and fear of being alone in your own self.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Speed, your vocals, I mean, words cannot express every time. I mean, as a fan of, death metal, melodic death metal, and every kind of genre I listen to, it's always important for me that when I buy an album, I expect the vocals mainly to be diverse. And you never fail to amaze. I mean, you've never compromised, and all your fans are dedicated because they know what Speed is up to. Everything on this album, or your vocals, melodies, growls, everything was well placed. I mean, how important do you feel for you, to express this, not just from the lyrical point of view, but also from the voice?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for saying that. I mean, it's really natural for me to challenge myself, vocally, and from the beginning, I mean, it really took a lot of time for me to become confident. With my vocals, especially the clean ones.
Right.
I started out as doing screamy vocals, but then I wanted to develop, as a singer, just like everybody else in the band, develop on their instruments. So it was a natural step for me, and in the beginning, it was almost like it was either on or off. It was screamy vocals or cleans, But there's so much in between, and I really discovered that, from touring and from studio experience. I found so many different ways of expressing myself, like vocally. So it's been very natural for me, and I think especially with The Living Infinite and this new one, I think I really rediscovered myself as a singer. There's so many different singing styles, and I think it's exciting to me, and hopefully also exciting to the listener.
Right, absolutely. Now, always when I talk about your previous discography, there is always that traditional Soilwork kind of song structure. But on this, it was very different. I mean, it kind of felt that you guys were planning to probably write something which, you didn't want to continue what you guys have done previously, but let's say, let things out and then arrange it.
Yeah, we wanted to be really playful about it, approaching the music instead of just having, everything set in stone. It's like, oh, let's have an intro there, and then a verse, and then a bridge, and then a chorus, and all over again. It's, I think, especially with The Living Infinite, I think we found something new, because I think we had to step outside our comfort zone, all of us, because it was going to be a double album, and it needed to be diverse, you know.
Yes.
So I think we really found something new and different ways of expressing ourselves as a band.
Right,
As well,
right.
you know, and I think we to use an old cliche, we took it to a new level with the Ride Majestic. Sure,
Mhm.
you know, it's not like we force it, you know, like to just avoid, you know, what do you say, a traditional song structure. It's not that. It's just like we're being spontaneous about it.
Right, right. I got that. Now,
We want to surprise the listener and ourselves.
yeah, that's very important. Now, Dirk blasts are everywhere. I mean, when I spoke to him, how the hell do you do that, man? I mean, it's insane. And I noticed that he has used the two double bass drums on this album. I mean, as per the clip which he had released. So Dirk blast, and then like you said, it's more extreme. This album is more extreme. So how, surprising was you for the rest of the guys to see Dirk doing this amazing stuff?
Well, it's great. He's one of the few drummers out there that still has a groove when he blasts. Like he can do extreme drumming with groove to it. It's kind of hard to explain, but I think if you listen to, for example, Enemy's Infidelity on the chorus, I think that's something that really stands out. I don't think I've ever heard like a chorus like that before in metal. It's like groovy blast beats with a nice flow. It's like almost I don't know. It's like therapeutic blast. But and then like when I do the vocals on top of it, which are pretty like, what do you say, soft vocals on top of that, it creates a very unique atmosphere.
Right. That's awesome. Now, Speed, touring with Soulfly, Decapitated later this year, of course, the lineup is amazing. And any other tour coming up, obviously you guys are coming to India. I'm here waiting for you. So,
yes, we are coming.
Yeah, that should be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as you mentioned, we have the Soulfly tour and then the European headline tour, and that's going to take us all the way up to Christmas, I guess. And then
you guys are doing a European tour after the American tour with Soulfly?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing a headline tour in Europe. It's not covering up all of Europe, but we will come back again next year and do a full tour. So
okay. Cool.
Yeah.
And India, first time. I was asking Dirk about it, and he was very like, "Hey, no, we're not coming." I was like, "Dude, I mean, I'm one of the promoters here at Bangalore Open Air, and the moment we all planned to bring Soilwork and Vader in, it was like amazing, man. I mean, you have tons and tons of fans. The moment you guys are gonna land here and be on stage, it's be something which probably you guys might not have imagined so far."
Yeah. I'm really excited about it, and I'm very curious.
Awesome, Speed. Now, before I conclude the interview, since we talked about the Ride Majestic, it's one of the probably the most personal album of Soilwork's career. How about you describe it in just one sentence?
Ooh. A passage to a world unknown could work.
A passage to a world unknown. A gateway to a world unknown.
Yeah.
Bingo. Folks, new album coming out August 28th by Nuclear Blast. Buy it, pre-order it. It's definitely supposed to be there in your collection. Speed, thank you very much for sparing some time. It's always an honor to have a chat with you, and it'll be even better when we guys get to meet next year.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.